بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to the Fiqh class. Today inshallah we'll continue discussing the actions of prayer. And we will start with one of the issues that scholars differed about, which is placing one hand over the other during prayer. Now when you pray, when you say Allahu Akbar, we said that you raise your hands according to all scholars, that it is recommended, and some of them they said it is a must. Then what do you do after you raise your hands? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, or Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. What do you do? Where do you put your hands after you say Allahu Akbar? On the chest, not next to your legs?
No.
Why not?
Because that's the way the Prophet used to pray.
That's the way the Prophet ﷺ used to pray?
Like,
Says who?
he used to either put it here or sometimes a little bit below.
Says who?
I think there's some narration. I don't remember.
I cannot hear you. You don't remember, right? Good. So if someone asked you, you will tell him, I don't remember. So you don't have a proof for what you're saying. Right? It does not matter. Does it matter or it does not matter?
It matters.
It matters. Why?
Because the closer you are to praying the way the Prophet...
The closer you are to the Prophet ﷺ, the way he prayed, the better reward you will have. Yes, but maybe it doesn't matter in a sense that it won't affect the validity of the prayer. Yes, that's true. Because if someone prayed like this or like this, does that affect the validity of the prayer?
No.
No, his prayer is still correct. But what's the best situation?
To try to do as many of the sunnah of the prayer as possible.
Yeah, in regards to the hands, what do?
We place them right over left.
We put the right over the left. I want to put the left over the right. Give me an evidence. See? There is a clear hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, Wa'il ibn Hujr, radiyallahu anh. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna ma'ashir al-anbiya umirna, we're commanded to put the right hand over the left hand in prayer. So that's the way you pray. Imam Malik rahimahullah disagreed with this. And he said, in the obligatory prayers, you don't put your right hand over the left hand. But in the optional prayers, yes, you can. While other scholars, all other scholars disagreed with that. What's the argument of Imam Malik rahimahullah and whoever agreed with him? They say that it was not reported. Every action of the prayer was reported. So it was not reported that the Prophet ﷺ put his right hand over the left hand. Well, actually, it was reported. So we always have this rule. If someone is negating something and someone affirming this thing, what do we take? Negation or affirmation?
Affirmation.
We take affirmation. Because the one who affirms, he saw something extra. The other one did not see. Now we come to the next issue. Those who said you put your right hand over the left hand, they disagreed. Where do you put it? Do you put it over the chest or you put it underneath the belly?
I think both of those have been narrated. That he put
Both of them narrated, but one of them was narrated from a weak narration.
I think the one below. Right?
It was reported from Ali radiallahu anh that he placed them underneath the belly and that's what the Prophet ﷺ did, but that's not authentic. While the authentic that on the chest. And that's what is implied in the ayah. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. What's the meaning of wanhar? Nahr is slaughtering. And it is taken from the nahr. So also put your right hand over the left hand. That's a possibility also. So this is the first issue. It is in page 151. Let's check it quickly.
Placing one hand over the other in prayer in the standing posture. The jurists differed about placing one hand over the other in prayer. Malik disapproved this in obligatory prayers but permitted it in supererogatory prayers. A group of jurists, and these are the majority, maintain that this act is among the sunan of prayer. The reason for their disagreement is that confirmed traditions have been reported in which the description of the Prophet's prayer has been transmitted, but it has not been transmitted that he used to place his right hand over his left during prayer.
But it is transmitted actually.
While it has also been related that the people were commanded to do this. This has been related in the description of the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ and the tradition of Abu Humayd. A group of jurists therefore held that the traditions in which this is established imply an addition over those in which this addition has not been transmitted, and an addition has to be accepted. And
okay. Anyways, this is the argument. Next issue, we have rising from prostration. How do you rise from prostration? We're talking here about the odd rak'ahs in particular. Why? Because the even rak'ah, we know that there is tashahhud. You do tashahhud. But if you are not doing tashahhud, you finish the first rak'ah, you are in the sujood, and you want to stand up. How do you stand up?
You usually put the hands on the floor like that.
Do you sit or you stand up from sujood?
Generally, you're supposed to sit and let all your body parts rest, and then you get up.
So after sujood, we have sitting, not qiyam. After sitting, we have qiyam. Is that what you're saying? Because here is the rak'ah, how it goes. We have qiyam, we have ruku', we have standing, we have sujood, we have sitting, we have sujood. After sujood, what do we have? Qiyam or sitting?
We sit for a very brief time, and then
You sit. Says who?
It's the Prophet said, let all your body parts settle into that.
Settle into what?
Like the.
You are doing sujood. After the second sujood, isn't the rak'ah over? Yes or no? Yes. So what should you do if it's over? You stand up. Do you sit? You don't sit. What if you are doing something wrong? This is what we call jalsat al-istiraha. You rest for a brief time. Some scholars said that you do this, others said no. You go straight. And it was not reported that the Prophet ﷺ said it, but that what was reported from his actions. So he used to sit, but those who say you don't sit, they said this is what the Prophet ﷺ did later, in his late times when he was tired. So if you're old, then you do it. Previously it was not reported. According to Imam Shafi rahimahullah, and those who agreed with him, you sit for a brief sitting and then you stand up. According to others, no. There is no jalsa of istiraha. So this is the issue. It is in page 152.
Rising from prostrations after the odd rak'ah and leaning on the hands before prostrating. A group of jurists preferred that when a person is in the odd rak'ah of his prayer, he should not stand up after the second prostration till he has straightened up in the sitting posture for resting, while another group preferred that he rise up straight from the prostrations. The first was the opinion of Ash-Shafi'i and a group of jurists, and the second was the opinion of Malik and a group of jurists. The reason for the disagreement is that there are two conflicting traditions in this. The first is the confirmed tradition of Malik ibn al-Huwayrit that he saw the Messenger ﷺ pray, and when he was in the odd rak'ah of his prayer, he did not stand up after the prostration till he had straightened up in the sitting posture. In the tradition of Abu Humayd about the description of the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ, it is said that when he raised up his head after the second prostration in the first rak'ah, he stood up and did not seat himself.
So we have contradiction, but is there contradiction? Malik rahimahullah and others say no. That's what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. But later on, maybe he sat for a reason. He wanted to rest. He was 60 years old. So this could happen. Now, what do you do when you prostrate? Do you put your hands first or you put your knees first?
Supposed to do it opposite of the camel, right?
Opposite of the camel, that's the thing. But how would the camel
I don't know.
do it? Anyways, again, it is an issue of disagreement, and it is here in the same page, page 152. Next issue. Prostration. How do we prostrate? What's the form of prostration? Actually, we should put this on camera, but I don't know, we can. The Prophet ﷺ used to teach the companions, that's how they learned, practically. He used to climb the mimbar so everyone could see him. Nowadays, people pray for years and years and they don't know if they are praying correctly or no. How do you do sujood? 7 limbs. What are these 7 limbs? Hands. What do you mean by hands?
The palms.
Palms. Not the arm? No. You don't put... Okay, how do you put them? Like this, like this, like this? Facing the Qibla. That's how you put them. Okay. Those are 2. What else?
The forehead and the nose.
Forehead and the nose. 4.
The knees.
Knees. 6.
And then the 2 feet.
2 feet or 1 foot?
2.
That's 8, not 7.
Oh, well, maybe the head is 1.
The head? What? The face is 1. You put your face. Your face or part of it?
Part of it.
Huh?
Nose and the forehead.
Nose and the forehead. But these, again, is this 7 or 8?
It's just
Some
one
scholars
area.
differed here. That's where they differed. According to Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah and others, you have to put both. According to Malik rahimahullah, you can put the forehead only. But it is better to put them both. But you cannot put the nose only. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said either one is okay. Because any part of the face. And again, the reason of difference, do you have to put all of it or part of it? So the correct opinion, actually, you should put both, but this is the difference. 2 palms, 2 knees, 2 feet, and the forehead with the nose. And this issue is page 152 and 153. We want just to read the reason of disagreement. Again, this is how you will be able to derive the rulings. Read page 153, reason of disagreement.
The reason for their disagreement arises from the question of whether the obligatory is to comply whether the obligation is to comply with part of that to which the term is applicable or to comply with the whole.
What do they mean by this? Is the obligation to comply with part of what is obligation or with all? We're talking about the face. Can you achieve the obligation by complying with part of it or by all of it? Because you cannot put all your face. You are only able to put 2. Do you have to put them or one of them is enough?
This is so as the term face has been used in the tradition of Ibn Abbas, which says, I have been commanded to prostrate on 7 limbs. Those who maintain that the obligation is to comply with part of that to which the term is applicable said that it is sufficient if he prostrates on either the forehead or the nose. Those who maintain that the term prostration applies to the person who prostrates on his forehead only, but does not apply to one or to one who prostrates on his nose only, permitted prostration on the forehead and not on the nose alone. This amounts to delineation of the part that achieves compliance with the obligation when such part is implied by the term. And
Okay. This is an idea, again, why they differed. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that the face, whole, you cannot put the whole. What are you able to, or part of it is enough. So this is very important when you are deducing the rule from the evidence. Next, prohibition of iq'a'. Now, after you do the first prostration, you need to sit. How do you sit? Or even during sujood. Now, we mentioned during tashahhud. We mentioned yesterday that there is iftirash and there is tawarruk. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, prohibited iq'a'. But what do we mean by iq'a'? Iq'a' ka-iq'a' al-kalb. You don't do like the dog. What does the dog do? You put all your hand. What else? We're talking about sitting. The feet. What's the form of iq'a'? Have you seen people putting both their toes and leaning their body on the ankles, on the heels of their feet? You know what I'm talking about? Both toes are facing the Qibla and they are standing upright and you are sitting on them. Is that iq'a'? What's iq'a'? The Prophet ﷺ prohibited iq'a'. Maybe you are doing it and you don't know. How do you sit between the two sajda? Come on. Well, then we need to read the entire issue because page 154. You haven't heard this before, iq'a'? Okay.
Prohibition of iq'a', sitting on the buttocks and folding up the knees during prayer. The jurists agreed on the disapproval of iq'a' during prayer on a basis of the prohibition specified in the tradition which refers to a man sitting during prayer in the posture of a dog. They differed, however, about the implication of the term. Some of them maintained that the prohibited iq'a' is the sitting posture of a man when he seats himself on his buttocks and folds up his thighs like the posture of a dog or a lion.
So all of them agreed that iq'a' is prohibited. That's out of question. But what is iq'a'? Now here, he explained it as sitting on the buttocks and folding up the knees. But is that the interpretation of iq'a'? That's according to him.
There is no disagreement among them that this is not one of the postures of prayer. Another group maintained that the iq'a' has been frowned upon is the resting of the buttocks on the ankles between the two prostrations, while the feet are resting on the toes. This is Malik's opinion, and it is related that Ibn Umar used to do this because his feet used to ache. Ibn Abbas used to say that sitting on the feet in this way is the sunnah of your Prophet.
See, so you have now a problem. Ibn Umar sat, he said, because I have a problem in my feet. Ibn Abbas said, this is the sunnah. So
the reason for the disagreement is the vacillation of the term iq'a', frowned upon in prayer, between the literal meaning and the legal meaning. This is the meaning to which the term has been restricted by the law. Those who said that it conveys a literal meaning identified it with the posture of a dog. Those who said it conveys the legal meaning said that it indicates one of the postures prohibited during prayer. And it is established from Ibn Umar that the posture of a person sitting on his ankles, letting his feet rest on their toes, is not a sunnah of prayer, that they were led to believe that this is the posture that has been prohibited.
So, what's the best way to avoid iq'a'? You sit either iftirash or tawarruk. You are definitely not doing iq'a'. Some people put both their feet like that and they sit on it. Is this iq'a'? No. But when they put it like this, some scholars said this is iq'a'.
But this is a weak argument, as terms for which no legal meaning has been established must be understood in their literal sense, till such time that a legal meaning is established for them.
Okay. So the issue is not whether iqa is prohibited or not. The issue is what is the term iqa. Next, we move to the congregational prayer. Now we have the congregational prayer. What's the ruling on congregational prayer?
Sunnah.
Sunnah. So why do we go to the masjid? We don't have to.
No, for Jummah, it's for the men. It's.
I'm not talking about Jummah. Yeah, we go for Jummah, inshallah. We go once a week. I visit every week once.
It's a very strong sunnah. It's a big, strong sunnah. Like you should pray.
Strong sunnah. Yeah, I agree. It is strong sunnah, but I still don't want to go.
The Prophet also, he said to like burn the houses of the people who didn't come to the masjid.
He intended to burn the houses. Why? I'm not doing something which is sunnah. Why should I be punished? When I'm punished, I should be punished for something that is must. Right?
To show that's very important. I guess that's to show how important that is.
So can't I show you how important it is with something else? Does it have to be burning the house? Destroying the property? Is it sunnah?
Yes.
What's the evidence? It is sunnah.
Because you're not, I guess, you're not accounted, you're
There-
not punished if you don't do it.
How? You just mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ intended to burn the houses. Can I teach you by destroying your car? No?
Yes, you can do.
You can. Inshallah, tomorrow you'll have your tires flat. Is that permissible? Teaching by destroying something? For not doing something which is permissible? Okay. Did the Prophet ﷺ burn? No. Does that really matter?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. Since the Prophet ﷺ intended, that's enough. The only thing prevented him from doing this is what? He feared that kids will be there and they will be punished for no reason. Just because the Prophet ﷺ intended, that's it, that's enough, even if he did not do it. Didn't Allah say in the Quran, وَإِذَا كُنْتَ فِيهِمْ فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمُ الصَّلَاةَ فَلْتَقُمْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ مَعَكَ? If you are with them and the prayer was called, let a group of people stand with you. Did he say this or no? This is in case of what? In case of war. If you are fighting, you still pray what? In jama'ah. If you are traveling, didn't the Prophet ﷺ pray with the jama'ah? If you are traveling. After that you come and say it is sunnah? The blind man, didn't he ask the Messenger ﷺ permission to sit in the house? What did the Prophet ﷺ tell him?
He said that to let him go, then he was called back.
He called him back. What did he tell him? Do you hear the call?
Yeah.
The man said yes. What did the Prophet ﷺ say?
Then he said answer the call and go.
Answer the call. He was blind. Yet you still say it is sunnah?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, give me 2 evidences. I gave you 5 evidences. I need 2.
You're not punished for not praying in Jama'at.
Then why my house would be burnt?
I don't.
You need to know. It is a must to join the Jama'ah. We have online some who are saying, Sister Suhair saying it is a must. Fard al-Zahiriyya. We have a group of people who say it is Sunnah Mu'akkada. We have a group of people who say it is Fard Kifaya, or as it says in the book, communal obligation. which means if a group of people did it, it is sufficient. If no one did it, the entire people are sinful, all Muslims. Group of people said it is a condition for the prayer, which means if you did not pray with jama'ah, your prayer is not accepted. That's very strict opinion. So we have fard kifaya, we have sunnah mu'akkada, we have fard obligation, that's the opinion of Zahiriyya. We have condition for the prayer. These are 4 opinions. So which one is the strongest one? Fard kifaya. Good, that's the opinion of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. So if we have 3 people going to the masjid, we know them, that's fine. We should not go. What? You need, this is the thing. Now, you have evidences, you need to reconcile between these evidences. Yeah, we agree. Now, if there is jama'ah, where is more reward?
In the jama'ah.
Like the jama'ah, you go to the jama'ah. I don't want to. Alhamdulillah, I have enough reward. Do you force me to go? Because when we say it is fard kifaya, and some people are doing it, you cannot force me. When we say it is sunnah mu'akkada, you cannot force me. We need correct opinion here. How we can resolve this issue. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, Salatul Jama'ah, the prayer in Jama'ah is better 27 times than Salat alone? What does that mean?
That means it's still allowed to pray on your own.
It is still allowed, right? Otherwise, it is not better. The Prophet ﷺ should have said, it is not permissible, but that's permissible. Well, that's not the case. When I say, you are better than the criminal, okay, is that possible or no?
Yes.
I can say this, right? Because you are better than the criminal. Does that mean the criminal is good? No. How come then you say Salat al-Jama'ah is better? That means it is still permissible to pray alone. See, this is the fiqh. Let's read from the book, page 155, issue 1. So what's the correct opinion?
Either it's sunnah mu'akkada or fard kifaya.
Sunnah, you still insist it is not a must?
I don't know.
We're not talking about women or slaves, we're talking about men. You don't have excuse, yet you are still sitting at home. Ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu said, you used to see only a hypocrite or a disbeliever who does not come to the jama'ah. Yet you still say it is sunnah mu'akkada.
Like, if you have like things to do, like you're working or you can't always go to the masjid. That's why it's...
You have an excuse. Fine, I'm not telling you you lose your job or you pay $20 every time to go to the jama'ah, but if there is no valid excuse.
Yeah, then you should go.
You should, but I did not.
I don't know.
You don't know. Issue 1, read.
Okay. The jurists disagreed about the issue, with the majority maintaining that it is either a sunnah or a communal obligation, fard kifaya. The Zahiris maintain that prayer with the congregation is obligatory for each mukhallaf, individual with legal capacity.
These are 3 opinions. There is a 4th one also, actually. Anyways.
The reason for their disagreement arises from the conflict of the interpretations of the traditions on this issue. Thus, the apparent meaning of the words of the Prophet ﷺ, prayer with the congregation is superior to praying alone by 25 degrees or by 27 degrees, conveys that congregational prayers belong to the category of recommended ahkam. This means that it is a perfection over and above the obligatory prayer, as if the Prophet ﷺ had said that prayer with the congregation is more perfect than the prayer of the solitary individual. Perfection is something additional to sufficiency. There is the well-known tradition about the blind man who sought permission to stay away from the congregation prayers, as there was no one to lead him to it. the congregation. The Prophet ﷺ granted him the exemption at first, but then said to him, "Can you hear the call?" He said, "Yes." He said, "In that case, I do not find any exemption for you." This is explicit about its obligation in the absence of a valid excuse. This is recorded by Muslim. Among those that strengthen this tradition is that related by Abu Hurairah, the authenticity of which is agreed upon, and it states that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, "By him in whose hands my life, I had almost resolved to order the collection of firewood in bundles, order the call for prayer, then order a person to lead people in prayer on my behalf, and then chase reluctant men in their houses, then to burn down the houses over them. By him in whose hands is my life, if any of them had known that he would find a meaty bone or 2 good meat legs, he would be present at Isha." There is also the tradition...
Well, now when we tell people there is food, they come. There is a prayer, many of them don't come. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to burn their houses.
There is also the tradition of Ibn Mas'ud, in which he said, "The Messenger of Allah ﷺ taught us the paths of right guidance, and among these guided paths is prayer in a mosque where the call has been issued." In some of its versions it is said, "If you were to give up the practice of your Prophet, you would be led astray."
Okay, so again, there are many evidences, but each group chose one of those or two, and it is difficult to reconcile among all these evidences. Okay. Next issue. Praying. If someone prayed and came to the masjid and people are praying, does he pray or no? Do you pray or no?
When you go to the masjid?
Yeah, you went to the masjid, you already prayed. Your friend called you, he said, "I'm in the masjid, come, I need something from you." You came and they were praying. You already prayed Asr or Subh or Dhuhr. Do you pray again?
If you want to.
If you want to. We have 2 yes.
Yeah, you should.
You should. So if you prayed and you said, "You know what, I don't like, I have to pray again, I did not like what I did." You pray again, and then you say, "You know, now I will be more khasha." You'll pray again. Is that permissible?
Not for Asr, right?
Hmm?
You don't pray Asr twice.
You don't pray Asr twice. What about Dhuhr?
If you made a mistake in it, then you could...
Not a mistake, but I was thinking of marriage. I said, I went far away, so I need to pray now. I prayed again. And I concentrated more. But I still thought about something else, about houses.
Then it'll just continue, you just keep praying.
You'll just keep praying. So is it permissible? Someone prayed and came to the masjid and found people praying. Does he pray or no? He has to. The Prophet ﷺ saw a man and he told him, he did not pray with the Jama'ah. "Aren't you a Muslim?" He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "When you find people praying, you pray, even if you prayed." But some scholars differed. Is that for all prayers? The Prophet ﷺ did not exclude any prayer. Some people said you don't pray after Asr or after Subh. So it depends. But in general, they agreed that you pray. You pray with the Jama'ah, even if you prayed alone. If there is no reason, you don't pray. You say, "Oh, I want more concentration." No, you don't do that, because otherwise you will keep on praying again and again. All students online, are you there? Next issue. Next issue we have, where is Bazira? Is the qualifications of Imam. What are the qualifications of Imam? Who should lead the prayer? Who should be the imam? The richest person?
The one who has the most knowledge of the Quran.
The one who has most beautiful voice? No? The one who has
The most knowledge of the Quran.
most knowledge of the Quran. Most knowledge of the Quran or memorization? Memorization. We have someone who memorized 28 juz of the Quran, almost finished the Quran, Hafiz. And we have someone who memorized 5 juz of the Quran. Which one leads the prayer?
The one who knows 28.
28. But the one who memorized 28, he doesn't understand Arabic. He doesn't understand what he memorized. The one who memorized 5 juz, he studied Sharia. Which one leads the prayer?
The one who knows the most the Quran and the one who has the knowledge.
In this case, who leads the prayer? The one with the 28 juz or the one with 5 juz? With the 28, regardless of his knowledge. Do you agree with this? He can. But if he can, does that mean he should? Now here we are saying who's the best. We're not saying it's a must for the 5 juz. Of course, if the one with 28 juz led the prayer, it's correct. But who should? Scholars differed. According to Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and Imam Ahmad, regarding the Quran, Ya Ummul Qawma aqra'ahum li kitabillah. The one who knows Quran most. According to Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, so it's a split opinion. They said the one who has knowledge, more knowledge. If you have more knowledge, even if you have less memorization, you still lead the prayer. So in that case, the one with the 5 juz, he's the one who leads the prayer. Why? Because they said even at the time of the Messenger ﷺ, the one who had Quran most, he's the one who had knowledge most. Because at their time, they used to memorize with knowledge. So the one who knows more, automatically, he has more knowledge. But nowadays, you find people, they may even memorize the entire Quran, but they don't have any knowledge of Islam. If a mistake happened, they don't know what to do. While the one who has lesser memorization, he knows exactly what to do. So, scholars differed in this issue. What about the minor? The young boy? Can he lead the prayer? Someone who's 8 years old. Can he? He's not adult yet.
As long as he has the ability to lead the prayer.
He memorized 15 juz, but he's 8 years old.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
If he's the best person who's...
Yes, if he is the best one, that's what happened in the time of the Messenger ﷺ. Age is not a factor. As long as you have knowledge or you memorize, that's permissible. But still, some scholars said it is not permissible. It is absolutely prohibited. The next issue we have is the imama. Imama is the noun of imam. Just like friendship of a friend. Same thing, imama. Of the fasiq. Who's the fasiq? The one who? Openly. Don't we all do bad deeds? But not openly. He's not shy or ashamed of his deeds. This is the fasiq. Or the one who committed a major sin once. What's the ruling on him? Can he be a leader of the prayer? No? He memorized the entire Quran. But he came to the masjid and his girlfriend was waiting outside. Can he lead the prayer?
No.
Until he repents. Disliked. It is valid. It depends. Some scholars said it is valid. Yes, it is disliked, but it is valid. Why? Because his wickedness, his fisq is upon himself. His actions, as long as his actions in the prayer are correct, then the prayer is correct. Other scholars said, no, you cannot pray behind him, unless there is no other alternative. So it is not permissible, except that this is the only choice you have. Others said, no, it is permissible, but it is disliked. Let's read quickly. This is in page 160, issue 3.
They disagreed about the imam of the disobedient, fasiq. A group of jurists rejected it outright, while another permitted it without qualification. A third group made a distinction on the basis of the degree of certainty of his disobedience, and said that if the imam's disobedience is certain, the worshipper is obliged to repeat his prayer always. But if it is probable, it is recommended that the worshipper repeat the prayer.
So some said you repeat the prayer. You pray behind him, but you... Why they said you pray behind him? Because every time there is a division, that's evil. So because of the unity, you pray behind him and then you repeat the prayer alone.
This opinion was preferred by Al-Abhari from among the companions in the school.
What school? High school, AREES?
School, the madhab.
Al-Abhari. What school? Yes, very good. Maliki school.
There were those who made a distinction according to whether there was a basis for his disobedience, like the one who drinks nabith, a beverage of dates considered prohibited by some. And
what's nabith? Just like champagne. Someone drank champagne yesterday. He was partying and he came today to lead the prayer. Can he do that?
One who drinks nabith and relies on the opinion of the jurists of Iraq for doing so. They permitted prayer behind a person leader who relies on some basis, but not behind one who does not have such a basis. The reason for their disagreement stems from the fact that it is something that is not expressly stated by the law, and the analogies are in conflict. Those who maintain that as fisq, disobedience does not invalidate prayer, and that the follower does not need more than the validity of the imam's prayer. That is according to the opinion of those who hold that the imams performs the prayer on behalf of the follower. Permitted the imama of the fasiq. Those who compared the imama to the rendering of testimony and suspected the fasiq of performing an individual prayer, just as the fasiq witness is suspected to rendering the false testimony, did not permit his imamah.
You understand what's the meaning of, what do they mean by this opinion? They say if we suspect a doubtful witness, we accuse him because he may not sin. He lies sometimes. How can we trust him? How can we take him as a witness? The same thing. This is the prayer and he is fasiq. How can we trust him in the prayer? So it affects the prayer. So these are different opinions. Next issue. Imama of the woman. How about going to the masjid and the prayer, mashallah, very nice voice. Oops, she's a lady. She's hafidha, she leads the prayer. So she's leading the prayer. What?
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed? Are you sure?
Yes.
Why? Why not? Are women less than men? She is hafidha, the rest of men, they don't memorize as much as she memorized.
She has no responsibility at home.
Yeah, that's out of question. We know she has more responsibility. But here now, in the masjid, she's there, she's, mashallah, she memorized the Quran, she has beautiful voice.
No, it's not allowed. Because women...
Never happened at the time of the Messenger ﷺ. Yes, it did not happen. Many things did not happen at the time of the Messenger ﷺ. Yeah, the religion was complete.
So it never happened at that time, so it shouldn't happen.
Actually, it happened. How about that?
But it happened
With
with the women.
women?
Yeah, they led on the other women. They didn't lead men.
She can lead women.
Yes.
So if she can lead women, why not she cannot lead men?
Because the men have...
They are better than women?
No, they have this...
If no, then why not?
Because they're...
Are they more pious?
No.
No.
They have more obligations to come to the masjid than pray.
Yes, they have more obligations to come, but she came. And she's teacher, she has PhD in Islamic studies, she memorized the entire Quran. Yes, we have Bazigha, she's saying, the woman, where is the position of woman in prayer?
Behind the men.
Behind. Why behind? Why not in the front?
Because the men will be distracted by the woman if she's in the front.
Men will be distracted by women. Women won't be distracted by men?
Not as much.
Not as much? What did the Prophet ﷺ say?
Like he mentioned a hadith where if the woman
The best
crossed-
of rows of women are in the back. And the worst rows of women are in the front. The best rows of men are in the front and the worst are in the back. Where is the position of women? In the back. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Even some scholars, like all scholars, agreed that it is not permissible. Only two scholars, At-Tabari and Abu Thawra, I think, they allowed it. And even At-Tabari, he said when she leads the prayer, she stands in the back. Can you imagine this? People are in the front. Because that's how her position. It was never reported that she was in front of men. She cannot. So she is behind and she is leading them from behind. Some scholars said she is not even allowed to lead the prayer with women. Imama is something special for men, not for women. How about khutbah al-Jum'ah? You come to the masjid and she is giving the khutbah, talking east and west. People are listening. She cannot. There is consensus here. Okay, so it is issue 4 on page 161. Read it and we will conclude with this. Is there any questions about the issues that we took today? Oh, we have questions. Go ahead. How does the ayah فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ relate to putting right hand over the left hand? Because wanhar means do nahr. What's the nahr? Nahr could mean slaughtering, and nahr could mean put the right hand over the left hand on your nahr. So it is plausible also. Any other questions? How about jama'ah at home? Yes, now let's say Salat al-Jama'ah is must. So we'll pray jama'ah, but we'll pray inside the house. Is it the same as praying in the masjid? No. The masjid is the place for the jama'ah. That's the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. Just as the narration of Ibn Mas'ud, the Prophet ﷺ taught us the sunnah of guidance. And of his sunnah is to pray in jama'ah, in the masjid. So you should pray jama'ah in the masjid. If you pray jama'ah at home, it is not equal to praying jama'ah in the masjid. Okay. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى صحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.